So some big news the other day in the IndyCar paddock is that Oliver Askew, the rookie at Arrow McLaren Schmidt Peterson, is out of the number 7. He will likely race at St. Pete, but assuming he doesn't, he will not race again for the team. I'm Brian here, and today we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss, will Oliver Askew get another shot, and we will discuss who will replace him at the coveted Arrow Schmidt Peterson McLaren ride. Sorry, it's a long team name to remember. Anyway, so of course Oliver Askew was involved in a serious accident at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was not known at the time, but he was suffering from some concussion-like symptoms. And I guess he raced mid-Ohio with those symptoms, which, again, I'm just scratching my head here. Why would you race with a concussion? I get it. You're nervous to lose your seat, but your health comes first. There are plenty of other opportunities to land on your feet. At that point, you just need to think about your health and well-being. So I don't know if I agreed with that. I guess I understand why he felt he had to do it, but he definitely made it worse by doing that. So not a good thing for him. Of course, he was replaced at the Harvest GP by the young Helio Castroneves, who had a week off from Acura Team Penske, and I'm telling you, I think this is related to Helio's fill-in or hot seat opportunity, essentially. I don't think they would have made that move if they didn't think they had a shot at getting Helio. I mean, look, it's not like Helio's some bum on the street. It's not like he's a guy who just an unknown in a sense. It's not like they signed Felipe Nasser or Kyle Kaiser or Alex Tagliani off the street, or even Oriol Servia off the street. It's not like they signed one of those guys, brought him in and said, hey, please run a race for us, we need the help. You know, I'm not calling them bums. I'm just saying that it's not like they signed some random guy like that off the street and said, we need you to cover a race or two while our driver's not medically cleared. Okay, they went straight for the 3-time Indy 500 champ, who of course is, without a doubt, arguably the top free agent in all of motorsports right now. So this was not by mistake whatsoever. Helio's obviously a top candidate for any of these IndyCar teams. He's obviously a top candidate over on the IMSA side, but he is stressed that he wants to return to IndyCar. I'm sure he feels like there's some unfinished business. Maybe he thinks he's got a shot at a championship, maybe his 4th Indy 500. And personally, I think if he gets a full-time team, I would not rule him out. Because obviously, it's been documented, it is so difficult to enter the NTT IndyCar Series in a part-time ride. It is so difficult to get acclimated and expect a good result. So, I mean, it's not like he had a real shot. I mean, he finished pretty well in the Indy 500, his last race with Team Penske. But it's not like, again, you know, only running part-time, he can only learn so much in that short amount of time with the team. So now I guess the big thing is, will Oliver Askew get another chance? I've heard some people say, well, obviously we know his oval experience. We know he's done okay on the ovals minus the Indy 500. I would like to say he does get another chance. He's young. He's still very young. He's still learning. I would not doubt he returns. I don't think, though, it'll be in a bigger ride. Okay, obviously, I think, we know there's going to be an Andretti opening this offseason. Whether or not they fill it is another story, because obviously they got a 5-car team over there. Someone's, do they just close it down to a 4-car with a 5th car part-time? It's a possibility, but if not, obviously I believe Hinchcliffe is going to be their guy next year in that 26. So I don't see Askew going over there. If I had to make a pick, I would say it's either going to be with AJ Foyt, Dale Coyne, or Carlin. And I say Carlin because obviously we know Max Chilton does not like running the ovals. So, because he doesn't like running the ovals, that opens an opportunity for Oliver Askew to play to his strengths. Okay, Dale Coyne, though, I think that's a possibility, but again, we don't know what's going on with Dale Coyne Racing yet. We know they love Ferrucci over there, and Alex Palou is pretty good. He is very, very good over there. So, I don't know if I foresee a lineup change over there, assuming that both drivers want to return. And even if they don't, they're going to be 2 of the top free agents this offseason. AJ Foyt, we already know Bourdais is going to drive 1 car. We don't know exactly if there will be a 2nd car. We don't know, again, the status of Charlie Kimball and Dalton Kellett. So, those are 2 guys still up in the air. We don't know if they're going to return. If I would believe Charlie Kimball would, if any of those 2 return for the 2nd ride, because Charlie Kimball brings in sponsorship. So I would believe he would return there, and if not, I don't know what's going to happen to Charlie Kimball, but I think it would be good for AJ Foyt to bring him back, along with Sebastian Bourdais. So, ultimately, if Askew gets another chance next year, it'll be with one of those guys. If not, I think he'll be back in a one-off for the Indy 500. But I don't see him. I've heard people say, Ganassi filling out the races that Jimmy won't run next year. I don't agree with that. Simply, he hasn't proven enough over at Schmidt-Peterson for a ride there. And also I've heard he doesn't bring much sponsorship to the table. So I don't feel like he's a good fit over there. And again, Chip loves winners. He's not going to just sign someone who's not even come close to winning to fill out one of his rides. Anyway, so now to the next part. Who will replace Oliver Askew at Arrow McLaren Schmidt-Peterson? I've narrowed it down to 5 guys, and obviously you already know one of them. Elio Castroneves, of course, 20 years in the IndyCar series. He's 45 years old, though. Not many teams like to sign older drivers. But 24 career wins. He's a 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner. He's finished second in the points 4 times over the course of his career, and I believe one of them was a tie with Scott Dixon, and Dixon just had the tiebreaker. Of course, right now he's over with Acura Team Penske and IMSA, and of course he filled in for Askew at the Harvest GP. I believe, obviously, and I've stated it earlier, Elio Castroneves is the top free agent in all of autosport and motorsports right now, because look at his resume right there. 20 years in IndyCar, 24 wins, which includes 3 Indy 500 victories. How is he not considered a top? How is he not considered the top free agent, especially in IndyCar? How is he not considered the top free agent over there? And the other thing is, Errol McLaren, Schmidt Peterson. Now, Pato O'Ward has done a great job. He's still a rookie. You can say he raced in 2019. He's a rookie this year. By all means, you run 4 or 5 races, you're still a rookie. So, but Pato's run really well over there for Errol McLaren, Schmidt Peterson. But the one thing they're lacking is a veteran driver. They're lacking a veteran presence, because both those drivers were essentially rookies entering this season. Their driver coach over there, to my knowledge, was Robert Wickens, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing but massive amounts of respect for Robert Wickens for everything he's gone through. I wish he accomplished a lot more in his short IndyCar career before the injury. I thought for sure he would have won a race, but life happens. But obviously another thing, I hope for his continued recovery, and I'm still praying for that. But he's only run 1 year in the NTT IndyCar series. He's not exactly the guy. I just don't think he brings enough wealth of knowledge to the table in an NTT IndyCar. I think he brings some knowledge. I think he brings some excellent insight and knowledge, but he brings nothing to the table compared to Helio Castroneves. And I think bringing a guy like him in, I mean, look at all those years at Penske for Will Power, for Simon Pagenaud, for Juan Pablo Montoya, for Joseph Newgarden. Those guys had Helio in the paddock, and he could teach them so much. And look at how good they ran when he was a part of the team full time. You can't tell me he has not reached across the paddock to talk to his teammates and give them insight and be like, this is what you got to do better. This is what you're doing great. This is what you need to do better. That's someone that Pato O'Ward needs as a teammate. And I think that's what they're looking at right now, and especially after Indy, because they've said Helio comes in with the vast wealth of knowledge, and he's come in at Indy in a one-off. And I'm thinking he's definitely said a few things about, this is what you guys are doing great. This is what I love about what you guys are doing. However, you guys at Errol McLaren, Schmidt Peterson, you guys could be doing this better. Make these few adjustments. This is what you could do better. And I feel like he could do that for Pato and really set him above the rest. I think he can do that. So I believe he is the top free agent. I would not be shocked at this point in the season. I would not be shocked to hear in the news in the next week or so Helio is signed to drive that number 7. I would not be surprised. The other guys, man, how do I top that? The next 4 guys, of course, you see on the screen. Felix Rosenqvist, he's 28 years old. He's run 2 full seasons, essentially, in the IndyCar series. He just won at Road America this season. He's 10th in the standings right now. Of course, he's with NTT Chip Ganassi. The big thing is there's really an uncertain future for him. Jimmy Johnson was signed. We don't know if that's for a 4th car or if he's just going to take over the old 10 car and they're just going to have 2 drivers run that whole season. So again, just an uncertain future there. We know we didn't expect him to return this season because Felix ran so well at the road courses, but he crashed so many cars over there. that's the problem. Chip does not. There's one thing Chip Ganassi does not like. He hates. Or I'm sorry. There's one thing Chip Ganassi hates, and it's wrecked race cars. And I can't tell you how many of them I've seen Felix Rosenqvist crash. He has really learned a lot this year. He's gotten better, but the ovals are still a very big weakness for him. Road course wise, he's good. He's gonna be good in the future. But again, with the signing of Jimmy Johnson, we don't know exactly what's gonna happen with him yet, what their plans are. And same thing for Marcus Ericsson, but I don't have Ericsson on this list because he was let go by the team. So I think, again, Rosenqvist will be one of the top free agents. The next guy up is Santino Ferrucci, 22 years old. He has spent 3 years in the NTT IndyCar Series. He's not won. He hasn't even finished on the podium yet. He's 12th in the standings. And of course, Dale Coyne has not announced anything. I've heard rumors that Ferrucci is in line for the Andretti ride. The problem is he doesn't really bring sponsorship. And the other thing is, here's the thing, I love Santino Ferrucci. I really love the guy. He's a class act. I met him at Pocono. He is a class act. But the problem is, again, no sponsorship. I mean, but I will give him this. He is very exciting to watch. He pulls a lot of very exciting moves. He's very aggressive. And the problem is it helps and hurts him that he is so aggressive. So, I mean, that's a risk for Arrow McLaren to take. But I could see it happening. And I think he's also, again, another top free agent. And look at it. I mean, he's also racing for Dale Coyne. Keep this in mind. That might be the reason he's not hitting the podium. Because let's face it, Dale Coyne doesn't have the best equipment in the garage area. If you put him in a top car like Arrow McLaren, Schmidt-Peterson, and again, Zach Brown has a lot of money. Okay, so you may say this is a startup team. This team in the next few years is going to be running the series, along with, they're going to be a big three, I think, with Team Penske and Chip Ganassi Racing. I would not be surprised to see that. So again, I think Ferrucci's the top one. His teammate Alex Palou is also going to be a guy you're going to hear from for years to come. Unfortunately, doesn't carry sponsorship. It's only year one for him, but he has one little thing over his teammate. He's got a podium. And again, just like his teammate, an aggressive driver. He makes very bold and exciting moves. He's 17th in the standings, though. There hasn't been as much consistency on Palou's part. So, I don't know. See, if we're going on driving talent as far as who's going to drive that car, I think Palou's good, but again, not consistent. Ferrucci's not very consistent. So, again, I would like to see those two in the car. I mean, obviously their future's both undecided. So, who knows what could happen with them. I'm sure they'll both, at least one of them will be back at Dale Coyne Racing next year. That will, of course, be seen in the coming weeks and months. The final free agent pick, and it's no shock, and actually he's currently a free agent. It's Zach Veach, the former 26 driver. He's 25 years old. He's run 4 years. No wins, no podiums yet, and that's a little more. Here's the thing. The difference between Zach Veach and Santino Ferrucci not being on the podium. I'm just going to compare this real quick. The difference between the two of them not being on the podium, Zach Veach is in the top equipment in IndyCar with Andretti Autosport compared to Ferrucci, who's not in top equipment. So, I think that gives Ferrucci an edge over Veach, but Veach brings sponsorship, which is something Ferrucci doesn't bring to the table. Again, Veach is 20th in the standings, but you got to keep in mind he didn't race the Harvest GP. It was James Hinchcliffe in the car. He's currently a free agent because he left Andretti after Mid-Ohio to try to sort out what he wants to do in the future. And again, no surprise, my top pick for that ride is Elio. I think he's got a real shot. And, you know, I think he's, again, the top free agent in all of motorsports right now. So, again, I would not be surprised to hear him take that ride. These other four, I mean, Ferrucci, I think, would be a good fit over there. I think Palou would be. Rosenquist could be as well. I think of the five, Veach is the least likely to go to Arrow McLaren Schmidt Peterson. I mean, he brings sponsorship, but again, he's not put the results up on the boards yet. So that's my reasoning for not picking him top. Of course, there's more free agents as well. There's Felipe Nasser. I don't expect him. I've heard Sergio Perez. I don't expect him coming over one of these guys. There's also Scott McLaughlin, but there's no way Penske will let him go. He is for sure in their IndyCar plans for next year. I've heard, you know, part-time next year for him. And we will see what happens. We want to thank you for watching. Be sure to like or dislike. Hit that subscribe button if you liked it. And be sure to click on the bell as well so you get notifications on our videos. And we hope to see you real soon here on SCN. Of course, also follow our social media. And hopefully we will post some more videos soon here on the channel. Until then, goodbye everyone.